Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Chini Maji podcast. I'm your host, Sydney Miheso, and I am the digital marketing strategist at Impact Africa Network. For those who don't know what Impact Africa Network is, it's a startup studio in Nairobi, Kenya, on a mission to ensure young, talented African innovators participate in Africa's digital transformation as creators and owners. The opportunity for Africa to transform its social economic development is here, but young, talented entrepreneurs don't have the support structures, and there's where we come in to fix this. We provide 12-month internships to college graduates, where we involve them in well-vetted projects with like-minded peers, where they develop startup building knowledge, where they're part of a founding team, they have experience in creating innovative ideas, and at the end of it, they're working with like-minded peers. Now, 2019 has been a year filled with milestones for us. In February, we brought in our first batch, our first cohort, and they have settled very well. They have been involved in an exciting and dynamic environment, and they are building quickly the mindsets required to create transformative leadership in the continent of Africa. And in June, we brought in our next new batch, and they're excited, young, talented, hungry innovators who want to be involved in Africa's digital transformation, and that's an exciting opportunity and an exciting moment for us to be here as Impact Africa Network. And today they're here to share their experiences. So, can you introduce yourself and what you do at Impact Africa Network?
So my name is Marco Rena. I'm the product development intern, EIR basically. What I do here is one, I help in research for projects and being able to monitor and support a project all through the different phases. That's one. Another thing also, I give support, IT support in terms of our CRM software, any other software that we use, or any IT related decisions. I have an input in that.
So how did you come across Impact Africa Network? Walk me through that.
So how I came across Impact Africa Network. So I just finished school last year, and I was in Jomo Kenyatta University, mathematics and computer science. Basically, was my field of study. Then after I finished, obviously you're really looking into the market. Where do you fit in this whole economy? Where will you be able to not only just do what you love, but be able to make an impact in the ecosystem? So I was referred to by a friend, she said, there's this opportunity to be able to be an intern, to be able to just explore what you want to do and pursue that. And I think that's how I joined. I joined in February, early this year, and it's been an amazing journey so far.
Yeah, so you mentioned it's been an amazing journey. What does that do? What lessons have you learned? You mentioned earlier that you are involved in research. So how does your day-to-day, if someone doesn't understand, how does that look like?
Okay, so as I said, I do the IT support. So every time there's any problem that any of the interns have or any of the staff have, I deal with that, which is a really interesting thing because you're able to study how the different softwares are out there and how they've been able to be built and developed to serve a certain user experience. So that's one thing that I do. Also, I pitch in with fundraising, whereby we're able to, let's say, reach out to entrepreneurs, founders, and people who would be able to help us support our cause. So I think that's like my day-to-day, per se. Also research, whereby every other day it's a new challenge, it's a new adventure, basically. So you'll be given something, just research on this, be able to get concrete results or research on that. So that's basically it.
Okay. So why is what Impact Africa Network important for our ecosystem? You've mentioned you were looking for something that you loved to do, and Impact Africa Network gave you that opportunity. Why is that important for you as a young innovator? Why is the work we're doing right now so important at this moment for our ecosystem?
Just before you even go into that, how to even be able to paint that picture of how it's important for this, especially Africa now, from where it is. One, I'll just look at reflecting on my experience here so far. So 8 months in actually. So first thing, you come in, you think maybe just get into coding, just start building something. But the first thing is, the first project I was given or task I was given was, do research on this, right? So you're like, okay, so how do we even start doing research?
What was the research?
So actually we were doing now, the first project we were supposed to start doing was a HRS software. We were able to pursue, basically. So we did research on that, talked to a few players, That was the first thing I did. Another one that also we were able to look at our podcast actually, and how are we able to, let's say, expand the reach of it? Which platform should we use? Because Africa is an underserved market per se, so there are not very many products that are Africa friendly, or how can I be able to use it in Africa and leverage it to get more audiences. So we also did that. Another one I'd actually even tell you, this is one of the, I think, the best experiences I've had. One of the best experiences is the events. So the Past Speaker Series 1 and Past Speaker Series 2.
Mm.
So first you're there, let's say in a meeting, a group of about 5 people.
Okay.
And now the concept, first of all, of Past Speaker Series as an event, right? So you're talking about it, Mark, our founder, Mark Karake, our founder, was talking about it, and you always just see the idea, the concept. Then suddenly it starts taking shape. You first get, okay, so who will be our speaker? We get Scott Chacon. That's a big deal.
Who's Scott Chacon?
Scott Chacon, Scott Chacon is the co-founder of GitHub, CTO. It sold to Microsoft, but he's still an active person in the industry in terms of, giving knowledge and being able to speak on ecosystem. So he's a very successful founder. So when we're able to get Scott Chacon, and even not believing it at first, but when he actually came and you'd actually see him, he's a chill out person, and being able to even have that first-hand experience to talk to him, that was an amazing experience. The other thing was now seeing the idea of Past Speaker Series from conception to actualization, which is a whole thing. And in between that, there's a myriad of things that happen. I'll just share a few of them.
Yeah.
One, being able to find funding for that, which we were able to get a few sponsors, being able to see Mark, those Cheesy, Pauline, being able to leverage that, be able to reach out to sponsors.
And these are your team members?
These are my team members,
okay.
So being able to see that and actually seeing when it's a dynamic environment, it's like the trenches of war. So
interesting description.
Yeah, because basically what happened, we had our first venue locked in.
Yeah.
But now last minute changes, we can't have this venue. So how do you pivot from that? How do you
problem solve?
How do you work under that kind of pressure? And we're able to pivot, be able to find another place, and it was actually successful, even better.
Yeah.
That was really good. So event planning has a huge thing for me, being able to do that.
To do that, So it broadened your mind, made you handle things head on, have a supportive team that knows exactly what they're supposed to do, and deal with what's in front of you without getting discouraged when things go wrong.
So there's that. Also, the other thing we're doing, there's also our storyteller, or Brandon. Brandon basically does all our graphics, all the good things on our website, how we look good. Brandon and Andrew do that. So also we did the pitch deck, whereby you're able to pitch Impact Africa to people. Being able to just say it out loud.
This is what we do, this is why we do it.
This is why we do it,
and
all that. And repeating it becomes boring at first. But when you're now meeting people and you're pitching it, it just becomes second nature to you. So I think pitching has become a huge part of my life, whereby you're able to explain over and over again, and being able to meet industry players. As I said, I met Scott Chacon. I met Dr. Samir Maski of Fuse Machines also, and being able to Fuse Machines is an AI company based in New York. He was here for our Past Speaker Series 2, so it was also a huge success. Shout out to Azure for hosting us. So that's basically it.
That's incredible. So it's amazing your trajectory. You started thinking, I'm just going to do coding because that's what you learned in uni, but there's a whole different world that you've been exposed to, and you have grown from all the projects you've been involved in. So would you recommend this to a friend, a colleague, or someone in your network?
I would recommend this to myself 3 years back. I would have done that. I would tell myself, you should have been here as early as possible. So I would totally recommend this for anyone who wants to be able to start their own business, be able to take on a project by themselves. Because the key lessons you learn all through one, you have to take responsibility of your output and everything. So whatever task you're given, you have to do the grunt work, corner every case, do all that. You have to do that. So that's 2 actually. And also your output is equal to your team's output. Right? You cannot work in a silo or an isolated place. You have to really work, coordinate with everyone else, be able to being able to basically just coordinate and be able to have that teamwork, right? I think that's another huge thing that you have to really do. So I would recommend it to every other person to be able to just have that exposure, learn from successful entrepreneurs, and all that. Yeah. So I would definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Mark, for your thoughts. Actually, Mark is part of cohort number 1, so we call him the OG of Impact Africa Network, and he's really had tremendous growth and been part of an exciting and vibrant environment. So thank you, Mark, for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, asante sana. Thank you.
Next, we have Pauline. Hi, Pauline.
Hi.
Tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is Pauline Yathira. I'm the financial analyst and a member of the fundraising team here at Impact Africa Network. I have a background in actuarial science from GFAT and mathematical finance from Strathmore University.
So math, you just love math.
Yeah, it was just natural for me to do it.
Impressive.
Thank
So
you.
how's the experience been working at Impact Africa Network?
The experience has been phenomenal, first of all. I joined in February this year, and it's been amazing. More so on the fundraising part, because that has been my main focus. Being able to research on people who have built companies from scratch and have turned them into mega billion-dollar companies that are major industry players like out there in the world. It's really inspiring, and to imagine that we also can do the same here in Africa for our own people is truly amazing. Yeah, so and on the same breath, on the fundraising team, we've been learning about putting our message across as Impact Africa Network. We've been talking to some of these building founders, people who have also exited, and now we are entering into a new phase where we're reaching out to the diaspora, Kenyans or just Africans living abroad who are in contact with such industry players as I've mentioned earlier. And we're just trying to put our message across so that people understand fully what we're doing and what a big impact it will cause here in Kenya and in Africa.
Yeah, now you mentioned that you have been in contact with founders who have made millions, have developed innovative ideas, and you talk to them on a daily basis to support the work we do at Impact Africa Network.
Yeah.
What lessons have you learned from that fundraising process?
I've learned, first of all, that it takes a lot of work. Like, it takes so much to build a company, and at Impact Africa, we've gotten an opportunity to be able to delve into different things. Like, even as someone who majored in financial things, I've been able to be in a fundraising team, which is something that I never thought I would ever do. I've also delved in event planning and production of our pitch decks as well, and just being able to wear different hats all the time. So that's what I've learned from all those people who are successful, that they also had to do similar things, like just be good at many different things.
Because building a company is a lot of things.
It's a lot of things.
And you have to know all of them.
Yeah, you can't just be one thing.
One-sided.
One-sided.
Now, you mentioned earlier you're involved in messaging, getting what Impact Africa Network is doing to our audience, and our audience are the local ecosystem and also exited founders. Now, why is the work we're doing at Impact Africa Network, why is it important as you mentioned, you've been involved in the messaging, why is it so important for Africa and our ecosystem at the moment?
Yeah, so it's very important that people know what Impact Africa is doing. And I haven't yet mentioned that I also do research and development, just researching on like industry trends and what is the main interest for people who are in the tech world. And we found that artificial intelligence is a big thing, and we actually hosted an event to launch Jenga School, which is an artificial intelligence / machine learning school.
This was the Power Speaker 2.
Yeah, this was the Power Speaker 2.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've learned that there's a huge demand for artificial intelligence, just learning how or what it is. And I find it important for Impact Africa Network to be the one to put this out into the world, because it's really aligned with what's happening in the rest of the world. Like, AI is taking over everything and everywhere. Like, we are just like right there with the rest of the world. Because as we've known before, Africa is always left out from such things. When the rest of the world is moving on and creating new things, we somehow are the last people to like figure it out or something. But with the Impact Africa Network, we are right there on the forefront with everyone else. And I think that's very important for even the African youth to be part of.
So would you recommend Impact Africa Network to your friends to be part of?
Absolutely, I would. This, as I mentioned, this is a front row seat to the amazing tech companies that will come out of Impact Africa. So who wouldn't want to be a part of it? Of course I would recommend it.
It's amazing. I mean, Pauline has so many things she does. I was going to ask you, what don't you do? But clearly, as you said, working for Impact Africa Network has opened up your mind to take any challenge and learn, and also not just be one-sided. Take the full picture.
Open up your mind to all manner of possibilities.
Wow, that's awesome. So thank you, Pauline. Again, part of cohort number 1, an amazing, talented young innovator. As you mentioned, math. Like, don't mess with her with math. Yani, she just knows it. But she's been involved in different things, and it's amazing to see her experiences and what she has learned. And that's an incredible projection into the future of what Impact Africa Network is about. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And finally, our last intern from cohort number 1 is Brandon. Hi, Brandon.
Hi, Steve.
How are you?
I'm okay, I'm good.
So how have things been? Because you've been in Impact Africa since January. So so how have things been so far?
Well, it's been 9 months.
Okay.
Because we just got into October.
Okay.
Around 3 weeks from now will be 10 months, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, so far it's been great. I mean, I can't complain. Joining, I had not yet graduated. I was waiting for graduation.
Which university?
I was doing environmental science at Kenyatta University.
Okay.
Yeah, but I am the graphic design intern for Impact Africa Network.
Yeah.
And graphic design is a skill I picked up while in university.
Okay.
It's something that I was very interested in, but from learning and the coursework, I didn't really have an opportunity to put it into practice. And so Impact Africa Network has given me that environment to actualize the skill, to grow in it, to build confidence. And I feel comfortable with it as I continue to learn and to experiment different aspects of designing. So it's been an exciting journey, full of learning, and that's what I was looking for, an opportunity to grow what I know and to work with people who are also improving their skills.
So is graphic design self-taught, or you have to do a professional course? Or?
Initially, it was an interest in me.
Oh, it was just an interest.
I remember after high school, I was making logos using word marks.
Okay.
Just an idea I had in my head, I tried to represent it. And so slowly, I pushed myself into environments where I was forced to learn new things. With ISEC, I transitioned from Paint to using PowerPoint. And with IN, I've managed to move from PowerPoint to different Adobe software, things like Illustrator, XD, Figma for landing pages.
So a range of new software to help you grow your graphic design.
Yes.
So actually, it's even good you mentioned some of the programs and the softwares you've used at Impact Africa Network, because that was leading me to my next question. So you mentioned you've been involved, you're the graphic designer. So could you name a project that you've been involved in that you're really proud of?
Oh,
just one.
There's so many.
Just one.
Well, I think if I had to choose, it would have to be the H1 report, because it has been a project where a lot of reflecting was needed. these are achievements that I was part of. So I had to put it in a way that not only captured the achievements, in an overview, but also to capture the essence and to kind of frame it in a way that shows the impact it actually had on us as members of the organization and generally the ecosystem. Because those are some of the things we did.
So just a run through. Okay, so what are the achievements? Mark, Pauline have mentioned the Power Speaker series, both 1 and 2. Chini Maji podcast.
The podcast, of course.
I hope you're enjoying. But yes, this is an amazing platform.
Well, there was also the setting up of Jenga School.
Yes, Jenga School, the AI school. Yes.
Yeah, and so that also involved a lot of design aspects, regarding the branding, all those things. Yeah, and I was excited with that.
And then your new friends cohort number 2.
Yeah, then the team expanded, and so there was a lot of collaboration and working together, and that is something that I love a lot.
So what lessons did you learn from that process of creating the H1 report?
Well,
that you didn't know before?
I guess, because every day you learn, the thing that I think I learned a lot from the preparation or creation of the H1 report was working together. I mean, I remember it was very challenging to kind of represent a lot of information in just one report, one document, and it involved consulting people, asking people for their perspectives and how to interpret different forms of data. I got very many references from colleagues, examples of templates and reports by other organizations which would guide me in the process. And so
you're kind of doing research at the same time.
Exactly, and the research, you need to go back to some of the tools we use and get the data because that needs to be represented. So it pushed me out of my comfort zone and had me working with people to kind of integrate everything that happens everywhere. It was hands-on, and you actually were also kind of in charge of the same. And we worked together. I remember
it was an experience.
The adjustment, I guess, in short, it was an experience.
And now finally we have a nice H1 report.
And we have a H1 report that we still use to refer to those achievements. Because I guess something I've realized is when you are on the ground and you are working towards your goal, it's very easy to forget
where you've come from.
Where you come from. Like you just when you're looking ahead, when you're focusing in front, it's not easy to hold everything that you've come from. So the H1 report kind of is a solid way to look at the achievements that we've done, and that kind of re-energizes us as we tread forward.
Now, your story is very interesting. Environmental science, doing graphic design, and you've built a complete expertise in that field. So my question is, you're put in an environment where you can explore what you liked doing but didn't have an avenue to express it. And Impact Africa Network. With that in mind, why is the work we're doing so important, in your view, for our ecosystem, for the young innovators like you who would like a chance at something that what you are doing? Why is it so important what we're doing?
I think this is something that I've said a lot, but it still holds to be true to me. The work that this organization is doing is very important because it's giving people a safe environment to experiment and to actually do real work that amounts to something. And I don't think there's a better way to teach people or to help people grow their skills than to actually put them in that environment where they do what they will be doing in the future.
And they have a robust support system that
enables them to
just test it out and see what happens.
Exactly. So the safe environment works a lot, and working with people who are
like-minded or thinking in the same direction.
Thinking in the same direction. And if if 100 people were to actually come out of such an experience, they would be more empowered, more confident, and ready to actually make an impact and pursue whatever it is that they are doing in a better way, and achieve results.
So my final question is a bit of a tricky one.
Mm-hmm.
Would you go back to doing environmental science, knowing what you have known now?
Knowing what I know now.
Yeah. Would you go back? Because now you're a guru at graphic design.
Yes.
So would you go back to environmental science, or would you like to be in a position where graphic design?
Well, that's actually
that's what I was calling it a tricky
very good
question.
I think if my parents are listening to this, they also want to know the answer to that question. You know, well, as I said, when I was starting out, I had not yet graduated.
Okay.
And yes, I got the degree in July.
Yeah.
We are now in October.
Yeah.
So that's actually a question that I'm asking myself almost every day.
You're learning, like you said, it's every day you're learning something.
Yeah.
Learning something. Yeah.
Because with the degree, that was 4 years of training.
Yeah.
But maybe haven't gotten an environment to practice that.
Okay.
But for the skill was something I was interested in, learned on the way, and got environment to train on that.
Train on it.
I think to answer that question, the best thing would to have a project that maybe involves both of them.
Okay.
And then I can make an informed decision from there.
And at Impact Africa, we have projects.
Yeah, and the projects are always diverse.
Diverse. So that would be a future project you'd love to be involved in.
I would love to be part of such a project and see what amounts to that.
Awesome. Thank you for answering my hard question, Brandon. But I like your answer. I like the fact that you have grown and you took your passion to great heights, and now you're part of a team that is trying to change the African narrative, showing that we can do. We just need to change our mindset. We just need to think in a different way, and that's one of the things Impact Africa Network instills in us every day: high integrity, high performance, high collaboration. And from you working on H1, that's an example of high integrity, high performance, high collaboration to get results done. So thank you so much for your time.
No.
And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.
Next, we have Andrew. Andrew is joining cohort number 2. Hi, Andrew.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Are you excited about being part of Impact Africa Network?
I am. I have been for quite a while.
For quite a while.
Yeah.
So tell us about yourself.
My name is Andrew. I'm the video production intern at Impact Africa Network, and it's been quite the journey. We learned quite a lot.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, we've been from day one. The first day came, I've been shooting. So there's a lot that I've grasped during that time.
So before we get into your day-to-day and all the lessons and all that stuff, how did you come across Impact Africa Network? I'm curious.
You actually brought me. I remember we joined around the same time, and Mark, our boss, asked you if you could know anyone who does video, and you immediately reached out to me, and we came here the following day. I remember, after the call, you came here the following day, and Mark really gave me the opportunity to really express what I love doing. It's a day that I'll really remember.
So it's the opportunity to completely express yourself in a safe environment that, yes, I introduced you. I'm taking full credit. But at the same time, of course, you had your own personal desires that Impact Africa Network kind of met you halfway, and you're like, why not?
I was actually doing my own gigs on the side. Full time at that time. But when Impact Africa Network reached out, or rather when we came here, I saw this as an opportunity to improve my skills in a really well-controlled environment and understand how the little things when it comes to editing and doing that video work that I would definitely not have gotten by being by myself.
So now you mentioned that you're the video, forgive me for forgetting, video producer. Yes, that's the one. So what lessons have you learned?
Something that I had not come across or not even done at all was script writing.
Okay.
That's something that is crucial to how every video is done, and it's something I had no real understanding of. And yeah, as I mentioned, from day one we started shooting.
Okay, what did you shoot?
The first video, one of our first videos, actually our first videos was a podcast in this same environment.
This podcast?
Yeah. Not this podcast, but this podcast. You're doing a special edition. Was this podcast, and one of the very first videos we did that actually needed scripting was our half-year report.
Okay.
It was actually I'm very proud of that video. It was actually the first video we did, which was kind of scripted. Yeah. And the quality was really good. And I think it is the most viewed video on our YouTube.
YouTube page.
Yeah. So doing that, during video you need to understand how the sound will be, your environment, the script, how whoever's in front of the camera looks, are they properly dressed, are they presented well, and the framing of the video. So that was the first video we did, and that was really my first introduction to script writing. And I think it turned out pretty well. The views kind of tell the story. It turned out pretty well. Yeah. Another thing I've learned is organization of media. Okay. So I deal with a lot of GB on GB gigabytes worth of data. Okay. So I need to know how to arrange them, to organize them, so when we are editing, they're easily accessible, and just speeds up my workflow. Yeah. Definitely before I was not dealing with this much of storage. Okay. But it has forced me to be organized. To be really organized. I was organized before, but right now it has forced me to
the T.
Really organized.
So you can get all your pieces together to tell the story of what Impact Africa Network is doing.
Another thing that I've really learned, and this is quite frankly the most important, is the art of storytelling. Okay. I need to actively be aware of what's happening in the organization, because in the future we will keep releasing a lot of videos. Videos will be really important on the internet. Probably next year will be about over 70% of what is consumed on the internet. So I need to understand everyone's story, where the organization is going, what we are doing at that time or this day. So I know whether we are filming, I can film that and can be used in future projects. And I just need to have a very good understanding of our company, what we're doing. So
So
storytelling was really important.
It's interesting because Brandon mentioned earlier that he was involved in the graphic design of H1, and you are involved in the video version of H1. So that's just clearly, and he mentioned that work could have been done by himself. We had to work in a team, and you've kind of echoed those thoughts that the messaging has to remain the same, whether it's document or video. And how can you work together, collaborate to make sure the same message gets out there.
Collaboration has been a big part. Because we need to understand with Brandon what graphics will appear on the video. So you mentioned half year H1. Let's call it H1 report. Actually, it's called H1 report. That's your best so far. Number two. I like
most recent.
Changing our 100 founders, definitely.
What is
100 founders is our campaign to reach out to 100 exited founders or just founders to give us grants or donate to us to support what we are doing. So messaging that has been my biggest project here. And it was not easy, but we really got it out. And a positive note on that is actually one exited founder from Toronto, Canada, I think, actually saw that video and emailed us wanting to help us to donate.
Wow, that's incredible.
So it's a pretty amazing feeling on my end
when you get that kind of response.
It's really good for the organization. It's good for me, yes, but it's amazing.
So it's even good you mentioned the 100 Founders Challenge, because that leads me to my next question. Why is the work we're doing as Impact Africa Network, why, in your view, is it important in our ecosystem?
Honestly, I feel like this is something that's really needed. We need to make our youth indulge in this tech development of the world. As we've said in one of our videos, Africa is kind of the last front for tech development.
Yes.
And I mean, people are looking for a way to kind of make profit. Let me say profit for their companies from outside.
Yeah.
So we need to rally our youth to understand, be more conversant with tech.
Yeah.
And build companies that are homegrown. And take charge of our own ecosystem.
That's true.
And I think that's something that's very important.
Because we have all the ingredients,
Yeah.
and Impact Africa Network is providing, I would say, the structures for you to grow. Like you mentioned, your trajectory from the first time you came to now, getting a response from a founder, and a founder is someone who owns a business that is worth millions and employs.
It was an exited founder.
So how you capture his attention is different from everyone else, because you're wanting to help the organization, and for you to get that response clearly shows that there's talent.
Yeah.
We need a environment where talent can be nurtured to contribute to the ecosystem. And as you mentioned, Tech Africa has been booming, and we are the last frontier when it comes to tech innovation. So why not be at the lead front of that by improving your skills and being part of startup, being part of a founding team, which is what Impact Africa Network gives to the interns who join our program. So thank you so much for your time, Mr. Video Producer. I got that right?
You got that.
Thank you so much, and we wish you success in the future. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
Up next, we have Mungai. Mungai is joining us as part of Cohort 2, and we're super excited to have him on board. And we're super excited to have him here on the podcast, sharing his experiences so far. So, hi Mungai.
Hi.
How are you?
Very good, yes.
So I'm good. So tell us about yourself.
Okay, my name is James Mungai. I prefer Mungai for some reason.
I like how you put in the James.
Okay. I went to school at Kenyatta University, did my undergraduate in psychology, but for some funny reason always end up working in tech. Not that I'm complaining, it's perfectly fine by me. Part of the second cohort here at Impact Africa Network. I do mostly outreach and fundraising and a bit of market research, and that mainly touches on my day-to-day activities.
Yeah. So what lessons have you learned from doing your day-to-day activities?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Quite a lot. It's
just
hard to pick out a few, but I think the most important one yet has to be the understanding and the knowledge of how the business topography and environment works globally. Because for the lay person or just the average person, you usually have big companies or even average companies that are doing quite remarkable things, and you don't really understand their internal workings, how they function. And I think that's one thing through the fundraising and outreach team work which we do here at Impact Africa Network. I've been able to learn. It requires you to sit down and dig deep into the internal functioning of most of these companies and figure out a way to break into them and for them to hear us out, since we're still in the process of fundraising. So that's been big.
Also trying to find a common ground where they can listen to our messaging.
Yeah, so firstly trying to understand the kinks as a company. So that when you reach to the approach stage, you have a proper structure of how you're going to try to get this to these people. It initially didn't sound like something that was going to be really hard, but the more you get to it, the more you realize how you need to, your message needs to be specific for every audience. People are different, similar to companies. Companies are different. You wouldn't approach company X the same way you would approach company Y. You really need to figure out the internal mechanisms, what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say, in order for you to achieve your intended results.
And I guess the target audience is the States, or just globally. Any idea of the location of the companies you're reaching out to?
Mostly, generally, actually, globally, because the bigger the audience, we wouldn't want to limit it to a single scope. We wouldn't want to have tunnel vision per se, where we have just one audience in mind. So the more people we can reach out to globally, the better.
And it's actually good you mentioned that you've been working, or you found yourself weirdly, in your words, in the tech space, and that actually leads me to my next question, in the sense that Africa has gotten a lot of attention from the global markets in terms of tech. We're a growing market in terms of tech absorption, young population, tech savvy. So why is the work we're doing important? Why do you feel, from you contacting these other people, companies in the global space, why do you feel like what we're doing at this time is important, and why should they hear us out?
Personally, I feel that Africa has always been the place.
Okay.
Our stories have always been told by outsiders and have always been murky and mad with negativity and all that, but it always has been the place. We're a very self-sustainable continent, and it's unfortunate that a lot of people do not know that. One of the things we believe here at Impact Africa Network, and I think this is a global ideology, is that genius is evenly distributed, but opportunity is not. We believe that there are brilliant minds out here. We believe that there are people with the capability to do exceptional things in our own backyard, but they do not have the necessary representation. They do not have the people to hold their hand and walk them through that process of conception to execution. So the work we're doing at Impact Africa Network is really important, because we want to provide that sort of that hand to these brilliant individuals out there who have amazing ideas but do not have a sight of the path they intend to walk.
So how long have you been part of the program, as part of Cohort 2?
October officially marks my 4th month here. It's been intense. It's been a very steep learning curve. It's been, the true knowledge and true learning is only acquired through experience. That's one thing I really love about Impact Africa Network. You're just thrown to the sharks. You're told, figure out how to survive, which is really nice.
There's a safety net.
Yeah, there's a safety net. Actually, there would be a safety net. I mean, no one would just throw you under the bus that way. But so it's been intensive, but I've enjoyed every bit.
Yeah, and look at you now talking to global companies and learning how they're structured.
I hope they're listening.
That's impressive. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Another young innovator to join Impact Africa Network as part of Cohort 2 is Daisy. Hi, Daisy.
Hi. I am good. How are you?
You look really happy.
I am.
You happy to be part of Impact Africa Network?
Very, very happy.
Okay, tell us what you do.
So, as you said, my name is Daisy. Daisy Lagat, and I am part of the second cohort for Impact Africa interns, and I am part of the fundraising team.
So before you go any further, how did you get to this point? Walk us through. Which university did you go to?
Oh, I went to Moi University. I studied communication and public relations. I am so waiting to graduate. But yes, very soon. And I learned of Impact Africa Network through a friend of mine, and I got really excited because I've always wanted to be in the tech space.
Okay.
And this was my chance, and I just took it. So
why do you want to be in the tech space? Any particular interests?
I have always been excited about tech. There's actually a group that we formed. It's called Dream with Code, and I always wanted to learn how to code. I started learning it on my own, and it's really exciting for me. It's something I've always been passionate about.
Yeah. And now you find yourself in an environment with like-minded people.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want as long as you put your mind towards it.
Yes.
Now, what lessons have you learned as being part of the Impact Africa Network?
Well, coming out of uni, I always thought I was going to do just the basic communication stuff. I thought I knew everything about communication. I thought I knew everything about market research, because those are the things I've been learning for the past 4 years. And I was sure I was perfect. But I came here and whoa, culture shock, if I call it that. Because there's so much that we're not taught in a classroom that you have to experience, and I have experienced it. I have been able to learn how to communicate with people who are much higher in the, we call it food chain.
Food chain, let's call them accomplished.
Yes, accomplished. And they are people who I never thought I would be able to associate or have a conversation with, but here, being part of the fundraising team and doing these campaigns, I was able to get the opportunity to talk to these people and actually find out that they're actually human beings like you and me. They're people who understand your struggles and go through the same things that we go through.
Just how you communicate to them.
Exactly.
Okay.
And each and every day that I'm here, I learn something new.
Okay.
I get to interact with people who are from different backgrounds, different education systems, and it's really interesting, honestly. It's a learning experience every single day.
Yeah. So why is the work we're doing as Impact Africa Network, why do you feel it's important? And you mentioned one actual fact that tech is in Africa a booming growth tool. It will really catapult us to the levels we want to be in, and that is the next, I would say, Silicon Valley or even beyond. So why do you feel the work we're doing here as Impact Africa Network, focusing on the talented young innovators, why is that important?
First of all, I want to clearly mention the fact that in Africa, one thing that we suffer from is unemployment. The youth, somebody leaves uni and they live with honors, and they come to the outside world and they can't find a job, they can't find employment.
There are no support structures.
Yes, then everyone wants you to have 5 years experience just coming out of uni, and that's something that we can't have. And Impact Africa is giving us this opportunity to actually be part of a founding team, be a founder of something, be part of we get to create our own employment.
Wow.
And I believe that is really important for us, and it's something that we need. It's a gap that we need filled, and I'm really glad to be part of a team that is there to fill that gap. Also, the work that we're doing is aimed at creating an Africa that we believe in. Many people out there think that Africa is just another country. It's just where animals are. People come here to see animals and go away.
That's what we have.
There's so many brilliant minds and brilliant ideas that have come from Africa, which I believe we need to embrace and take those ideas and make them something big. And I believe in the near future, we're going to be the next big thing.
Absolutely, and that kind of leads to our mission. Our vision is to create great African companies led by Africans by Africa. So now, final question. As you mentioned, your friend recommended you to Impact Africa Network. Would you do the same?
I would, gladly. I should hear how I talk to my friends about my job. I swear, I love it. I love working at Impact Africa. I love the people. I love our team. Our CEO is amazing. And every single individual in this team has taught me something that I will keep for the rest of my life. No matter where I am, I will always keep it, and that is something I would want everyone else to experience.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Jose and Kefa. They're part of Cohort 2. Karibu sana. So tell us more about yourselves and what you do at Impact Africa Network.
So my name is Kefa Mutuma.
I'm Jose Siuti.
And we're part of the software development team here at Impact Africa. Essentially, our work is to develop products from the website to software products.
So walk me through your journey up to this point.
My journey to Impact Africa, quite interesting. My first interaction with Impact Africa Network was from social media, a WhatsApp group. And the founder, Mark, was talking about the progress he had made with the company as a company, the H1 report for 2019. So I went to YouTube, watched it, and I got the gist of what Impact Africa is, the mission they have, changing the African narrative, how they give internship program to young innovators, how they have a startup studio to help nurture the young talent. So I made a call to Mark, and I was given an interview.
Just like that?
Yeah, just like that.
That's impressive,
And luckily I passed.
Yeah.
Here I am now.
So my journey discovering all this was a consumer of the podcast, and was a big fan of the work Mark was doing. And being a techie as well, I was partly learning how to develop products and transitioning them into businesses. And we met with Mark a couple of times in many events, and he explained to me the kind of work he's trying to do, the kind of products he's trying to develop, and I decided why not plug in and do this as a team.
As a team. So you mean the Chini Maji podcast?
Yeah, Chini Maji podcast.
Wow, look at you, man. From listening to being part of the team, that's impressive. So what lessons have you guys learned being part of Impact Africa Network?
I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot of how things work out as a company. And I've learned a lot of team collaboration, working with the dev team, working with other departments such as market research, digital marketing. And I say I've developed more as a person who is ready for the corporate world. I'm able to talk to clients. I'm able to talk with my colleagues, work well, project management skills, and pretty much I've learned about solving problems in a more practical way rather than the theoretical way. And I'm still learning. Yeah, I'm still learning.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
For me, the main learning is how I could apply my skills as a techie towards developing products that are viable for the market. And that mostly involves, most of the time, not even coding, transitioning from that to actually talking to users, getting the concept from idea stage to discovering if the market actually wants it, and then executing on that.
That's impressive. So more than just, as he mentioned, more than just coding. You're just not typing code. You're doing the end user and the whole process in a safe space.
Yep, exactly.
Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive. So thank you so much, guys, for sharing your thoughts. Would you recommend Impact Africa Network to your fellow techies?
Sure. Yeah. The environment at Impact Africa, it's conducive for growing. Especially for young talent. And people want to make an impact in Africa.
And you can...
I'll definitely recommend it, especially to young innovators who want to, who have ideas but don't have a framework on how to execute on that. Because essentially the idea of a startup studio is to give you an environment on where to test out things, fail fast, know what made you fail, then test it another, and eventually you'll succeed.
Awesome, man. Thank you guys for your time.
Sure.
And thank you so much for sharing your experience.